You're listening to the Sex and Psychology Podcast, the sex ed you never got in school and won't get anywhere else. I am your host, Dr. Justin Lehmiller. I am a social psychologist and research fellow at the Kinsey Institute and author of the book, Tell Me What You Want, The Science of Sexual Desire and How It Can Help You Improve Your Sex Life. In the previous episode, we talked all about resolutions for better sex in the new year. This show is going to be a continuation on that theme, but instead of focusing on sex, we're going to be talking about relationships here and the things that you can do to build stronger, happier, and healthier relationships in the coming year. For those of you who are single and looking for a relationship, we're going to start with some tips and advice on dating in the new year. And for those of you who are currently in relationships, we're going to be talking about tips to strengthen your connection, to reduce conflict, including how to stop having the same fight over and over and over again, as well as how to break out of ruts and routines that often make our relationships feel stale. I am joined once again by Ashley Weller. She is a human sexuality and health psychology professor at Chapman University in Southern California. Ashley also runs her own podcast called What's Your Position, which tackles issues surrounding sexuality, relationships, life, and love from a comedic yet educational point of view. This is going to be another fascinating conversation that you won't want to miss. Stick around and we're going to jump in right after the break. Sexless marriages and relationships are more common than you think. Studies find that as many as 1 in 7 married couples can be categorized as sexless, and most of them find it to be highly distressing. It can leave partners with low self-esteem, trigger frequent conflict, exacerbate emotional distance, and sometimes even lead to breakup or divorce. But it doesn't have to be this way. That's where Paired comes in, the #1 couples app that helps to improve your relationship and that takes just minutes each day. Curated by relationship therapists, Paired uses expert-backed research to support making a lasting impact for couples. Here's how it works. You and your partner download the app and pair together. Every day, Paired sends you a 5-minute game, quiz, or question designed to deepen your relationship. Answer on your own time, and once you're done, Paired will reveal your partner's responses so that you can have an open, stress-free, honest conversation. One of my personal favorite parts of the app are the couples games, like Yes, No, Maybe, Romantic Gestures, and What's Your Couple Style. These shared activities are great ways to start the process of sexually reconnecting. They give you the prompt you need to start sharing things about each other, to learn about each other's current wants and needs, and to find your common ground. My partner and I have found them to be very useful in our own life for maintaining a deeper connection. Practice making your relationship a priority every day with Paired. Head to paired.com/Justin to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off if you sign up for a subscription. That's paired.com/Justin to sign up today. Okay, Ashley, let's talk about resolutions for having happier and healthier relationships in the new year. Now, before we start talking about resolutions to improve your relationship, I was thinking that, we should probably first acknowledge that not everybody has a relationship. And if that's by choice, that's fine. It's not a problem. But there are many singles out there who are looking for a relationship and they're struggling to find one. So let's start with them. Do you have any advice or tips for singles who might be resolving to find love or to find a relationship in the new year?
I do. First and foremost, depending on how you're looking for your next relationship, whether it be online, in an online dating setting, or just in your life, really sit down and define your filters. A lot of times people are using these arbitrary ideas. They need to have a job. They need to not live with their parents. They need to be a certain age. Really go back and start looking at your filters and recognizing whether they're compulsory, whether they're driven by societal standards or the ideas that your mom has about who you should be dating. And if you can't honestly come up with a reason why someone should be a certain height or living with their parents or making a certain amount of money, really start refining the type of people that you want to date with and your reasons for that. So we're in the middle of an economic crisis. I don't know if you've looked outside, but it's 2025 and we have some economic issues taking place right now. So there could be some areas of your definitions for who you want to date that might need to be changed a little bit. And Whether you are doing these things because your friends tell you to, or your parents, or because you've just put them on your dating app 4 years ago and left them there, go back and define your filters.
Yeah, I think that's an important place to start because sometimes we do become overly hyper fixated on like these are my deal breakers and must haves in a relationship. And when your shopping list gets so long, it can become hard to find anybody who checks all of those boxes. I think it can be perfectly reasonable to have like certain standards or expectations for a relationship. And I'm not going to judge or question somebody who says, it would be a deal breaker if my partner is not employed. Like I understand like
Completely.
how that can be really important for security and stability and so forth. But when you start getting down into like the fine grained details of where it's like, they're not allowed to like this, or they're not allowed to like that, or, it becomes a place where it can become really hard to find somebody who just like lives up to these really lofty expectations. And so I think, yeah, it is important to get clarity on like what really is a deal breaker and what's like, maybe I could live with this kind of thing, because that might help you to expand your search somewhat.
Even if it's, is this my deal breaker? Or is this
Mm-hmm.
my mom's deal breaker? Like, why do I even have this deal breaker? I remember when I was
Yeah.
18, I said I was going to never date anyone who was a smoker or a drinker because that's what my mom always told me. And I found out those are the coolest people. So like I was limiting myself the whole time. So yeah, making sure they're your deal breakers.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing on this note of like finding love, finding a relationship is if the things that you're trying right now aren't working, try something different in the new year, right? So if you're focused on one specific app, maybe it's trying a different dating app or trying a couple of different dating apps, or maybe it is going out and joining some type of social league or club and use that as a way to meet other people naturally and organically who are in your local environment. There's all different kinds of ways to start a relationship. And one of the things we see in our research is that increasingly people are preferring to meet off apps for various reasons. But to meet off apps, that means you have to really put yourself out there in a way that people might not be used to because we're living these lives where we're so deeply embedded in our technology from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to bed at the end of the day. And so we got to break those habits and routines and really get back out there in the real world if we want to try and meet people in that way, because sometimes sparking that connection organically in this most unexpected way is how we end up finding a relationship.
You stole my next, you do this all the time. You stole my next resolution, which is to expand your world. And this may not sound like a resolution for someone who's dating, but it is. If you want to find love, and if you haven't, and you have been frustrated by that fact, maybe you aren't trying hard enough in the social world. Go join a gym. Go join a yoga class. Go take a cooking class. Go volunteer at the local equestrian center if that's what you're into. Literally go network, because proximity is one of the highest predictors of attraction in a relationship. Because you are in front of me, I therefore am attracted to you. There is so much to be said for people who have shared interests and shared values. And volunteering is a great way to do that while also making yourself a better person and giving back to your community. But volunteering at a place that you find passion in, or learning how to cook if that's something that you've been interested in doing, joining a gym if you are passionate about health and wellness. These are things that you can do to put yourself back into the world IRL and get yourself off of the digital landscape, especially if it hasn't been working.
Yeah. And, on that note, I think there's also the question of, are you really open to meeting someone else? Because I know some people who really say that they want a relationship and they go out frequently, but then they only hang out with their friends and never talk to anybody new or different. And they're on the apps, but they're kind of like too anxious to message or talk to somebody else. So they're waiting for somebody else to contact them. And it's like, are you really putting yourself out there in a way that's going to create the seeds for this kind of connection that you say that you want to have? Or is there some deeper insecurity or other issue that we need to work on first before you can really put yourself out there in this way, right? Because sometimes there are roadblocks to vulnerability, and sometimes that necessitates working with a skilled therapist for a while first to kind of figure out what those are and how to work past them so that we can actually really put ourselves out there.
I agree wholeheartedly. My next resolution has nothing to do with that. And there's just no way to gently segue. So I'm not. Cheers. We're going to talk about slow dating. This is a resolution that I think is extremely important because once you find someone, people are like, oh, fuck, I found the person. Let me text them 75 times a day. Let's fuck on the first
don't
date.
do that.
Oh my God, calm down. You don't even text your friend 75 times a day. And if you do, come on.
If you text me 75 times a day, I don't care who you are. I'm going to block you.
So practice slow dating is my next recommendation for those in the dating world as a resolution. Slow the fuck down. Slow dating encourages intentionality and emotional presence. It also requires some maturity too, which we need when we're dating new people. People report more long-term satisfying connections when they invest fully in fewer people. So reducing burnout of dating, so not going on 4 dates in 1 week, right? Really investing, because even if you have 4 people who are interested in you on a site, you don't have to date all 4 of them in 1 week. Really investing time to be slower and intentional with people and not writing people off as quickly as I think swiping has trained us to do. And maybe that comes back to maybe not doing it digitally, but doing it in person, but really taking your time, being more intentional about your choices, more intentional about the time that you spend with the person. Bless my soul. I am all for fucking on the first date. I'm here for that. What I am saying is taking your time, especially when we have our sticks in more than one fire.
Double entendre there. Yeah. So, something that I'm thinking about here is that when it comes to dating, oftentimes we want to determine as quickly as possible, is this person a match for us or not? And I understand why people feel that way. And it's because dating is exhausting and dating is expensive. And, one of the things we saw in some of the research we did earlier this year was that
you did
there was
research?
a surprising, yes, I do a fair amount. There's a fair number of people who are like, because of the current economic conditions, I would move in with somebody faster. I would escalate the relationship faster. It's like, there are lots of people right now who want to move quick for various reasons. And it could be due to economics. It could be due to just wanting to reduce the fatigue or burnout or whatever that comes from dating. And so I get that. But when you try to move so fast, sometimes you will discard people who could potentially actually be a really good match for you long term, right? And so that's where I think this slow dating idea really comes into play is, are you actually giving people a real chance to get to know you? And I think sometimes too, the fast dating approach is kind of like this self-protective mechanism where it's like somebody can say they're putting themselves out there to themselves, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not really, because no one ever actually really has a chance with them, because they're dismissing them before they ever get the opportunity to discover that they might be compatible, right? And so that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey guys, if you're looking for more confidence in the bedroom or just want to improve your performance, you need to know about FirmTech because they're changing the game. When you've tracked 136,000 erections like they have, you learn a lot, and FirmTech is using that data to transform men's sexual health. Here's the deal. Most ED treatment is still trial and error. It's guesswork. But FirmTech's Tech Ring changes that by giving you and your doctor real data. How firm you're getting, how long you're staying there, whether your meds are working, and whether pumps, PRP, or shockwave therapy are likely to do anything for you. It can even help optimize your dosing of ED meds, backed by actual science. But what I love most is this. The Tech Ring doesn't just measure erections, it improves them. Its design helps keep more blood in the penis, which means harder erections, more staying power, and more intense orgasms. FirmTech's database also uncovered something big. For most guys, fading erections aren't dysfunction, they're venous leak. That means you can get hard, but blood just doesn't stay in the penis. It starts leaving before you want it to. The tech ring picks that up early, long before you consciously notice anything. It can even flag cardiovascular-related ED, which is the kind that you don't want to ignore. The bottom line is this: every man is somewhere on the spectrum from erectile fitness to erectile dysfunction. Firm Tech gives you the tools and the data to stop, slow, or even reverse that trend. Check the show notes for the link and save 15% off your Firm Tech order with code JUSTIN15. Stay fit, stay firm. All right, so what's next on your list of healthy relationship or dating resolutions?
Okay, so healthy relationships involving the other, right? So your partner. How do we have healthier relationships with our partners in the new year? And mine don't have anything to do with sex. Mine are all about cultivating the relationship as a whole. My first one comes from my second favorite sex researcher. Don't worry, Justin, you're still number one in my book.
Thank you.
But John Gottman. I love that man so much. And one day I will.
Who was actually the very first guest on my podcast.
I'm
along with his
aware,
wife,
and I'm
Julie.
so super jealous. One day I will meet him. I'm putting it into the universe right now. My first resolution for you all, if you are partnered, coupled, cuffed, whatever you want to call it, practice bids for attention. Now, listeners who are in a specific generation, which shall not be named, but rhymes with Z. Oh, it's Z. Are doing this trend on TikTok that they think they made up. And they did not. God damn it. They are doing the bird. And they are looking to say if their partner says or does anything when they say, oh, look, a bird. And they think they made it up and they didn't. This is John Gottman 101. This is his bids for attention. Practice bids for attention with your partner, saying things like not just how was your day and looking at your phone, but making more intentional, hey, can I tell you about my day? You put the ball in their court. Don't wait for them to ask you how your day was. Hey, can I tell you about this really interesting thing? You'll never guess what happened to me today. Or, hey, could you get me a glass of wine? Or can we try this new place that I've wanted to try for the last 3 weeks? Practicing bids for attention with your partner, turning towards, is so important in a relationship and creates a lasting foundation of a stable house that can withstand hurricanes, in the magical words of the Gottmans.
Yes. Now, I will say the one caveat to this idea about bids for attention is that I think on a lot of social media posts, this kind of gets twisted into, this, hey, look at that bird phenomenon, where it's kind of like posed as this test for your relationship, where it's like you stand there at the window and you say, hey, come look at this bird. And you see whether or not your partner comes over and how they react and how quickly they do it. And it becomes kind of this purity test for whether or not your partner is like really paying attention to you and whether they take you seriously. And I think you really need to consider first, like, why do I feel I need to test my partner? Right. And if you feel like it's more of a relationship test, that might actually say more about you than it says about your partner. Right.
If my partner doesn't come to the window, they hate me.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could be some deeper insecurity issue that you might need to work on. Also, if you're framing it as a test, consider that depending on when you administer this test, your partner might not have the capacity or bandwidth to respond in the way that you want them to. And so, like, if your partner is like, maybe not right now, like I'm in the middle of an important call or, they're working from home or something, like maybe that's not a good test of how they feel about you or the relationship. And, maybe if you do this repeatedly and you find that across different situations and contexts, like they're not being responsive or they're dismissing you, like that can be indicative of something deeper about the relationship. But a one-time relationship test that you learn about on TikTok, probably not.
Hey, peel this orange. What?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a whole post on the Sex and Psychology blog about TikTok relationship trends. And, there are hints of truth to them. But again, we need to be careful of this deeper issue of like, why do I feel the need to test my partner?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when you practice the bid for attention, it's consensual. You know this ahead of time. You have a conversation where you say, let's intentionally make sure that when one of us has a bid for attention, we are being mindful of that bid for attention. It's not this, let me catch you off guard while you are sitting on the toilet and you can't look up at a bird. And then I don't think you love me. That's non-consensual and unethical.
Yes. And it's also setting your partner up for failure in that
Yeah,
case,
it
too.
does say
Yeah.
a lot more about you. You're right. Okay. I would say that this resolution could use some tweaking depending on your relationship. If it's long distance, if you have children, if one of you works different hours than the other, but try to set up either weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly, something that works for both of you. State of the union talks. My husband and I instilled these. We do them annually. And based on, again, my homie, he doesn't know he's my homie, but Gottman, checking in with your partner can reduce miscommunication and help reduce resentment. So conversations can be short, they can be structured. They can hit on solution focused, positive facing ideas and help repair small issues before large ruptures happen. So think checking a leak before caulking the tub before it turns into a massive leak, getting your oil changed before your engine cracks. These are things that you can do to repair small issues before they turn into larger ones. So really making an intentional effort to have conversations about what's working, maybe some things in your relationship that you would like to see done differently, maybe talking to your partner about goals that you have for yourself so they can help you achieve those goals. And this is also something that people in the consensual non-monogamy community do regularly, and they have notoriously better communication than monogamous partners. So I really think that our monogamous pals could take a page from the consensual non-monogamy handbook and have better communication by checking in whatever's more comfortable for you, but make a point to stick to it.
I think that's great advice. And I had like literally the exact same one on my
Yay! I
list, or some,
stole one from you.
yeah, some very similar variation on that. But I think another great resolution can be to resolve to rebuild or strengthen your emotional connection. And we know that when the emotional connection fades in a relationship, that it creates a whole host of issues. And it's one of the biggest reasons why sex tends to disappear. Now, if you're already working on that communication piece and you're kind of fixing the small things before they become big issues, you're well on the way to keeping that emotional connection strong because you're working on issues that are going to prevent that resentment and other things from building up that interfere with your connection. But there's a lot more that you can do, such as by having dedicated quality time together. And I think that can be a great resolution is, we're going to resolve to have more quality time. And that doesn't necessarily mean more sexual time, right? Being able to connect with your partner out of bed is just as important. And so one of the ways that I do this in my own relationship is that I keep a list on my phone of every new bar or restaurant that opens up in our city that sounds at least somewhat interesting to us. And there are always new places opening. So we're always adding new things to the list. It keeps growing. But a few times a month, we'll go and we'll visit one of the places that are on that list. And it's just us. And we go out and we immerse ourselves in this novel environment. And so it has that added benefit of we not just get quality time, but we're also constantly seeing and trying new things together. And that non-sexual novelty also feeds into our self-expansion needs, which we know everybody has. And of course, yes, some of the places we visit are total duds, but it's also how we found some of our favorite spots that have become really special to us. And even if the place is terrible, we still get a chance to bond over that shared trauma, right? And it's also just more generally helping us to build new memories together. And it's getting us out of our ruts and routines. So what do you think? Other ways that we can keep that emotional connection strong and prioritize the quality time?
That I think is quite possibly the best resolution that we've had so far is to try a new bar or restaurant with your partner once a month and just either bond over the shared trauma or bond over the delicious food and find your new favorite place. But that is such a brilliant idea. I think it really goes back into novelty and making sure that you are doing something new together. Novelty is really so important in a relationship. And I think that's kind of been the theme in the resolution sort of episodes that we've done. My last one sort of plays off that, which is come up with low cost activities to create bonding that are new to you. So looking up things to do in your neighborhood that might be free, a free concert in the park, signing up for events at the community center. There's actually a drone show in my oh my God. And we're going to go. Like it's like the drone, like a drone fireworks show because we've never seen one before. And my husband and I love doing new things together. Anytime we travel and go to a new country, we always do something we've never done, whether it be paragliding or canyoning, or even if we can't find something new, we'll always say, "Hey, have we ever eaten pig out of the back of the truck in a country? Nope, there's our thing. We've never done that before." You can find novelty anywhere. But I think doing something, having like date ideas in like a shoebox. Interesting. Yeah,
Who came up with that?
I don't know. That's just came out of nowhere. But putting date ideas for when you can't come up with something, but like in your area, like there's an aviary nearby. Go to the aviary. Go volunteer somewhere together. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Go walk around a park together that you've never seen before. Anything that will give you something new to look at is a good idea. And there's low cost options.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have like a range of options on there, right? And even with that list that I have with my partner, like they're not all like super fancy high end places. Like we can't afford to go out and do that all the time, right? So sometimes we go to new dive bars, and sometimes the dive bars are the best places
Yeah.
because not only are they cheap as hell, but it's just like a new and different experience that we otherwise wouldn't have had
And
together,
they're
right?
trying
So,
really hard.
mhm.
The new places, the new dives, they try real hard.
Yes. So there are free things that you can do on any budget that are new and different and can add that element of self expansion and excitement to your relationship. I had one other quick resolution that I'm going to talk about, which was to stop having the same fight over and over and over again, right? Because almost every couple has that fight where, it's the one that just always triggers that argument and it starts the negative cycle where everybody just starts getting defensive, talking past each other. And the next thing you know, like, I forgot what we were even fighting about. So sometimes this is an issue that you need a skilled therapist to deal with, but there's also a lot that you can do on your own. And that starts with doing an analysis of like, what are the common threads that seem to trigger these cycles? Like what always sets you or your partner off? And then the next time you end up in that situation, your resolution should be to slow down and interrupt the cycle before you get too deep into it. Now, most couples repeat the same fight because they're just reacting to one another and they're getting defensive and they're not really responding to each other. So the key is to really notice like those early signs of escalation, then name what's happening. Like, I think we've slipped into our usual loop. Can we pause for a second? And then create a space so that you can regulate instead of just respond with reactivity, right? So that might mean taking a brief time out. It might mean switching to a softer language, shifting just to listening mode, right? Breaking the cycle isn't about saying, I'm never going to argue with my partner again. It's just about disrupting that autopilot dynamic every time so that you can choose a healthier path instead of just reliving the same conflict over and over and over again, which is terrible.
It's awful. It's one of the worst things that we do in a couple. And I remember when my husband and I went to therapy, our therapist said 75% of all conflicts will never be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew his mind. He was like, oh my God, like, that's just, why are we arguing? Like, if this isn't going to work, like, this isn't going to be solved. You're so funny because I had one on here called create a conflict rule that you both follow. So whether that be no arguing when you're hungry or no arguing past a certain time in the day, especially if one partner has anxious attachment style and can't sleep if they're in the middle of an argument. So no conflict past 10 p.m. It doesn't matter if we go to bed angry. I hate that advice at a wedding. Don't go to bed angry. Okay, I'll just not sleep then. Like, sometimes you go to bed mad, and that's okay. And it's okay to forgive yourself for that, even if it's taking a break or when you feel that flood. But again, this takes a lot of self-regulation and understanding of your insecurities and faults as well. Consistency is key. So if you know that you tend to use big words because you have a doctorate and your partner gets really offended by that, then maybe using words that you would use in an everyday conversation with a person and trying not to one up your partner while you're having a conversation with them, right? And you could come up with a code word for it, like encyclopedia. You're being an encyclopedia. I need you to stop. Like, I'm feeling
It's a safe word.
That's a safe word. Thesaurus. Thesaurus. Feeling very attacked right now. But yeah, I think that having this idea that we are going to set better boundaries for our disagreements, whether it be a timeout, like my husband the other day, we got in a disagreement. He goes, I'm going to take a timeout. I'm going to go outside. And maybe we can talk about this when I get back, or maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow, but we will eventually finish the conversation. He knows that that makes me feel comfortable knowing that the conversation isn't getting lost in the ether. And I'm comfortable because he says, I'm going to come back in. I'm not leaving you forever. Somebody has anxious attachment style. It might be me. I think it's a great resolution to have.
Yeah. And maybe you're both going to go to bed angry, but that's okay.
Sometimes it happens.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation, Ashley. It was a pleasure to have you here, as always. Can you please tell my listeners where they can go to learn more about you and your work and check out your podcast?
Absolutely. Join us on What's Your Position podcast, where we tackle all sorts of fun and exciting topics. You could do What's Your Position podcast on Instagram. We have a website, what'syourpositionpodcast.com. You can contact us through that website, and we are everywhere you get your podcasts. So anywhere you get podcasts, you can find What's Your Position. And thank you so much for always having me. It's always a pleasure.
And I will be sure to include links to all of that in the show notes. So thanks again so much for your time. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for listening. To keep up with new episodes of this podcast, visit my website, Sex and Psychology, at sexandpsychology.com, or subscribe on your favorite platform, where I hope you'll take a moment to rate and review the show. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, please consider becoming a Sex and Psychology Premium subscriber to enjoy ad-free listening for just $3.99 a month. You can also follow me on social media for daily sex research updates. I'm on Blue Sky and X at Justin Lehmiller and Instagram at Justin J. Lehmiller. Also, be sure to check out my book, Tell Me What You Want. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.